Hey everybody, welcome back to the 1RC YouTube channel. Today we're taking a look at my Tamiya Blitzer Beetle. This was going to be the second RC that I ever got. When I first got into the hobby, I had a Traxxas Rustler, and when I was at the not-so-local hobby shop, place is about an hour from my house, there was a Blitzer Beetle sitting up on the shelf for sale used for $100. And I saved and saved and saved, and I was gonna buy it and put all the electronics out of my Rustler into it. And I ended up spending the money on other stuff like you do when you're a kid, and kind of let that one slip through my fingers. So when I had the opportunity to pick up a re-release, I jumped on it. Got the kit for $169. It's got a bearing kit from Fast Steady Bearings in it, and a few 3D printed parts, 25 kilogram servo. It's got a Radiolink R4 FGM micro receiver in it. The included Hobbywing 1060, it's the Tamiya version, but it's a Hobbywing 1060. I'm really thankful that they included that. It's a much better ESC than the TEU 101 or the brushless brushed combo ESC that Tamiya gives you in some kits. This is just a clear version of one of the Chinese knockoff Beetle bodies. It's for a Stampede. You can see it's got holes for a Stampede. This is my beater body. I don't care if this one gets torn up. Doesn't really matter to me. It was 20 bucks and a little bit of paint. So we'll get that out of the way. But you can see the traditional layout. It does have oil shocks. Anybody that's familiar with Tamiya knows this chassis. The only differences in mine are this 3D printed mount for the speed control. Lays the speed control up on its side, kind of gets it out of the way, makes wire routing a little bit easier, and it also clears out room underneath for the battery to make things a little easier to get in there. This was designed in the age of nickel cadmium batteries, so not a lot of modern day lipos will fit it. In this one, I use a 2200 milliamp 2-cell from Ovonic. It's a 2200 35C, I do believe, and it fits inside of a 6-cell NiCad shaped 3D printed holder. Sorry about the weird cut there, guys. We've got some traffic that's come by. This is the Ovonic pack. It says it's for air, but it's a little soft case pack, 2200 35C. I like these packs. I've used them in my SCX-10 and my Red Cat Gen 8 for quite a while. But this is the sleeve that goes in the chassis. It's 3D printed. It's held together with 3 screws, and it gets when it's actually fastened together, it does get the balance lead out of the way to keep it protected. It's just a handy little thing to have. And 2200 milliamp battery in this car, it's 15-minute runtime, somewhere in that neighborhood. So not terrible. The speed of the 25 kilogram servo is sufficient for this. I will say this is one of maybe 3 Tamiya kits that I own that actually steers. I have had the biggest gripe with Tamiya for years because they can't build a vehicle with good steering. The Clodbuster, the CC01, the TT01, the TT02 that I built, none of them steer worth a salt. The TL01 that I have is possibly the best handling. It's a toss-up between it and my TA02 pre-runner. But they both handle really well. And then you get to the more modern, the TT01, TT02 beginner level chassis, they handle terribly. There's so much slop in the steering system. There's no turning radius. The steering on the Clodbuster is famous for how bad it is. And the same with the CC01. There's no reason that you should need 3 parking spaces to turn around a 1/12 scale vehicle. We'll leave it at that. This one is not running the stock tires. I've got the stock wheels and tires in a box along with the hard body that is decaled exactly like the box and buried under 5 coats of clear. But I wanted to keep everything as clean as possible for shelf duty. So I've got runner wheels and tires. It is stock, the stock Tamiya wheels. These are a very thick wheel through the bearing area, where the bearing is inside of the wheel on the axle here. That area is very thick on a Tamiya wheel. I used a set of RPM talons that I had gotten, and they did not fit without spacers because of how thin the area was where the bearing actually went in. So that's just something to keep a heads up for. Yeah. Sorry again, guys, that got a lot of traffic this evening. But as I was saying, the Tamiya wheel is very thick through that bearing flange, so just keep a heads out. I will say this, to run RPM Traxxas bearing 5x11 bearing front wheels, you need the front hex adapter from a Traxxas Slash, Traxxas Rustler, Traxxas Stampede, that really thick 12mm adapter. Put that over the axle, then put the wheel with the bearings in it over top of that, and that spaces the wheel out far enough to where the wheel nut actually goes to where it needs to. For tires, these are 2.2 Proline Moabs, meant for the Mini E-Revo or Mini Summit. They're the right size. 2.2 tires are getting a little hard to find, especially in the all-terrain segment. But these seem to work pretty well on everything that I've ran them on so far, especially with stock motor power. Little silver can does pretty well in this. It's reasonably quick. With this truck, car, vehicle, I'm not really sure. I guess you could call it a truck. It's based on the Stadium Blitzer, which was a truck. We'll call it a truck. The smaller area that you run it in, the better. It has plenty of torque. It has enough torque to spin out. You know, you can kind of kick the rear end out at will. It's not a high top speed vehicle. You'd be lucky to get 18 miles an hour out of this. That's not what it's for. This is more for nostalgia, especially for somebody like me. This is me finally getting that Blitzer Beetle on the shelf that I've wanted all those years. One thing that does strike me as an oddity about this, this is totally Tamiya. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. I was expecting a 3-gear transmission like every other 2-wheel drive stadium truck on the market, but the Blitzer Beetle Stadium Blitzer uses a 2-gear in which the pinion drives a spur that directly drives the diff. There's no idler gear, so that's again why the motor is off to the right instead of to the left like every other vehicle. It's just Tamiya being Tamiya. It seems to work. The gears are nice and chunky, seem to hold up pretty well. The shocks feel really good, maybe a little underdamped, oversprung, underdamped. It could definitely use a little heavier oil. In the front, I did have to resort to some preload spacers because the front does bottom out rather easily. Beyond that, box stock, the truck really impressed me for the amount of performance that it had for when it was released. You know, if this was something that was released in 2022, I'd be extremely disappointed. But for a vintage style kit, this thing is great. I can't say enough good about it. It was a pretty easy build. There's not much that can go wrong. It is protected pretty well. Big thick bumper in the front. It doesn't wheelie, so you don't have to worry about a wheelie bar in the back. Just pull throttle, go, enjoy, repeat. You may have noticed on the body, I do have some vintage style mirrors. These are just another thing that I 3D printed to go on. I'm sure these will get broken off the first time I run the car, but they are held in with shoe glue, just kind of pressed fit through the body. So But we will be back in a short while with a running video with this car. It shouldn't be too terribly long. We're just kind of waiting on things to dry up. We've had a lot of rain. The past month, we've had rain about 6 days a week. So as soon as things dry out and become suitable again, like I said, this is a shelf queen. I don't want to get it too nasty. We'll definitely have a running video, and just if you are not subscribed already, please do so. Click the little bell to be notified of when future videos do come out. And we thank you for watching. Have a great day.